So last time we finally got the engine running in this truck. You want to see that? You can go back to the last one. But now for this one, we need to see if the rest of the drivetrain is okay. Does it move? Is the clutch jammed up? Does it run? Does it move? Does it drive under its own power? That's going to be the main goal of today's episode. So first operation here, we have to find something to do about this wheel and tire because I just don't want to risk destroying this matching wheel. I guess let's see what we have laying around out back and see if we have something to match. Well, I went around back to the junk pile and I think this will work according to my measurements. Should fit on the hub. Yeah, just gotta get some air in this thing, get the beads seated, and you know, we just got to get it to work temporarily. Alright, this will do the trick. It is leaking badly, but you know, when if we actually manage to get this thing moving, it'll work long enough to see if the transmission works and if the clutch is stuck. So that is the goal here. So let's jack this up and get this old thing off of here. Now this thing has the unilug style lug nuts. Unfortunately, they're a smaller thread, and also the offset is slightly different on these hubs. You know, I don't know, it was worth a shot. I didn't know if the new wheels were the same as the old wheels, and yeah, so that's the answer on that. Alright, well, since we do everything the hard way around here, you can watch me struggle to get this off, and then I don't know, maybe I'll find a tire to put on. Let's find out. I don't know. Let's go around back and see what old tires we have that might hold air. Alright, what do we got here? 245/70 R17. Oh, that figures. Okay, I can't use that tire. Alright, let me see what I can work out here. And I'm looking at these. I forgot to measure them. I can't find... I'm sure there's numbers on here somewhere. I think these are actually 15s. Well, we got a El Camino tire with a hole in it, which has good tread because it's a shame. I could find... No, I think those are 15s. I was gonna say some of those tires might work, but I don't know. Let's oh, that's lovely. Kind of glad I didn't throw these away yet, because I don't know. What size are these? These are 15s. Okay, so you have to excuse my... I'm not a tire guy. You have to excuse my lack of knowledge. Yeah, I think these will fit. If not, they'll be close enough to wheel it around the yard. So I don't know. I grab one of these. Alright, I don't know if this is gonna work, but I got nothing to lose but time. I don't know if it's the right thickness and I'm too lazy to actually check, but this is the only tire I really got. Well, I got a couple of these exact same, but this is the only tire really I have that might fit, so I don't know. Let's give it a go. All right, well, that actually worked, which I had my doubts, but I don't know. Maybe it'll hold air long enough to do something. Significantly smaller than the other ones, but I don't care. Not for a quick jaunt around the yard. Well, what I hope to be. I mean, that'll at least save the wheel when it's rolling around. I gotta save up some money for some new tires for this thing, because tires are expensive and I have a hard time buying new tires because I only put a few thousand miles a year on my regular vehicles that aren't really work vehicles, and I can't ever see this being a work vehicle. So I don't know. If you've watched any of the past videos on the channel, I think this tire came off of one of the Jeep Cherokees I've had. So this tire has been through the ringer. I didn't look at the date code, but it is old, I'd be willing to bet. Kind of probably like all my tires. Or is it? You know what? I don't want to know. That has a website on it. That's a good sign. GeneralTire.com. So that means it's at least, you know, probably less than 20-ish years old. So, all right, let's get this thing on here. Okay, that'll be enough to test drive it on. Now at least I can get a little bit of a look at it when it's sort of kind of level. And yeah, I'm definitely liking this stance on this thing. I just it is gonna be sweet when it's done. Yeah, I'm loving this stance. So I think one of the things I want to do here before I move it, because I'm gonna have to do it sooner or later, is clean the diesel tank. I'm gonna pull the bed off anyway, so I might as well pull the bed off and clean and flush the diesel tank, and then I won't have to re-bleed my feed lines every time I want to restart this engine right now, because I just have it run into a diesel bottle when I want to run it. So we're gonna look at snipping this bed off of here, and I think it's just held. There's a bar across there with 2 bolts, and I'm not quite sure about the rear. I think the bumper is welded on, but I'm gonna have to crawl under and take a look. I'm gonna, since everything on this is coming apart, not just for evaluation, but probably to have to fix it as well, I'm gonna take the bed sides off. I'm probably, I'm gonna take the tailgate off. I'm gonna take this headache rack off, and then the bed will be stripped down to its basic component parts. I believe that he has these welded together, but I'm not sure. The back might be bolted on. I probably won't take those bolts off because I'm not sure. I don't know. When he put this plate in the bed, he might have welded that, but all these little brackets, like for the exhaust stacks and the tail lights and everything, have to come off. I think I use stainless steel fasteners for this stuff. That's good. As far as the exhaust stacks go, these are pretty well done. I think, well, it needs a new exhaust anyway. I think I'm just going to cut the stacks off here and then cut the brackets off and unbolt them later. I'm not sure about all this that's going on between the trailer hitch and the bed and the bumper. We got this, I don't know. It's welded there to the rear frame horn. I'm not sure. I see where it would be bolted. The bed would be bolted up there. Looks like I see a bolt going up there, right at the edge, but I don't see, there's nothing up here. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to take a look at that, but first I'm going to start stripping off the component parts and small things. Also need to clean the bed out to see all that, so let's do all that and get that out of the way. So this is one of the reasons I'm replacing the exhaust. One of the many reasons. You can see all the dirt and rust that's collected in there from over the years, and it's just completely full of it back there. So not much you can do about that, you know, when you're going down a stack without taking it all apart. And yeah, so all that's got to come off and be redone anyway. So we're moving along here. I'm not sure why all of this body filler is in here under where you can't see it. I don't know why you would do that. And you could just clean up the metal and call it good. Appears to be a weld seam down there, and they didn't Bondo across that, but they're Bondoing all this other stuff. I don't know. I don't understand it. There's a lot of Bondo on this thing, and I definitely want to put on. I don't care if it's smooth under the wheel wells, but I guess somebody did. But you can see it doesn't age well anyway if you don't get it prepped right or whatever. And well, Bondo doesn't age well anyway, especially just sitting there. Anyway, the base metal of this thing, you take the Bondo out of the equation, even the metal under the Bondo is pretty good. I guess they were just trying to smooth it out. I mean, there's nothing that can't be repaired in here, so I mean, that's looking good. You look back up in there, probably can't see it, but there's a bolt going up to the bed, and I don't think I can get to that bolt unless I pull the trailer hitch off, because I can't get up in there. So I wasn't gonna pull the trailer hitch at this point because it's not really necessary, but I guess we're gonna be stripping down the whole rear of this thing too right now. Oh, the bedside. You can see kind of where they patched it up here, and they did cut off. They cut off part of the front there, which I don't like because I can't find patch panels for that, I don't think. If I could, I might be able to form up the last couple inches myself and just weld it on. It might not look factory, but at least it'll match that height. I don't know why you'd cut that off unless it was rusty and they didn't want to patch it or something, but all the rest of this, I don't see any reason why this can't be cleaned up and reinstalled. Had to cut through this bolt here because the head is so rusty, it's just locked in there. Again, this can be cleaned up. It's mostly this upper frame, this bolt frame in here that's rusty. So yeah, I don't see why we can't clean this up and reuse it. This one will have to take this dent out, but I can still see where the body line is. I think I can still see the body lines. Anyway, I think I can snap that back out reasonably decent. And if I can't, it's a bedside, and this is gonna be a fun truck. So yeah, there's Bondo under here too. Yeah, big section there. Don't know. We'll just keep cruising along here and taking parts off. So I mean, this is all just, you know, sheet metal work, and the stuff that it would be tremendously difficult and almost impossible to patch, like this, you know, the Chevrolet logos and the shape of the tailgate and everything that you want to keep it nice and looking like it hasn't been hacked together. That's all good. I don't know if I can get the tailgate off of this. Everything is very rusty. I'm not even sure the proper way to get these tailgates off, so might not need to take that off. I don't know. Yeah, so we'll just keep cruising along here. So now the trailer hitch is off, I can see up in there a tad bit better. Not much, but a tad. By the way, that thing is really heavy. I don't know if it's full of concrete or something, but my goodness, it's heavy. I don't know. There's so many blind bolts. He bolted the bed down and then like welded the steel plate over top of the fasteners, and he just can't get to anything. I'm thinking maybe I'll just cut holes in the bed where the fasteners are and worry about what I'm going to do with that later, because by the time I go to all the trouble to take this off whatever the right way is, oh goodness, I don't even feel, there's not even a nut on that one. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'll go take the nut off the other side on this one, and then maybe we'll cut the holes out back here. I don't know. It's just, why? No, let me get back on my creeper and see what we got going on there. Nothing good, that's for sure. Hey, oh, maybe that's what that nut is there. That's a nut for the bed. Because of where he put it, it looks like maybe you could get a socket on it, but when you actually go below it, the frame covers it up. Well, I'll try to take those nuts off the right way. This is the way. I had to cut the rear bumper off. Guys, don't ever weld bumpers to frames. Just don't do it. There's a crack here. I can repair that. That's fine. But if we put that bumper back on, we'll definitely be making some plates to bolt it. No welding bumpers to frames. So I've got 3 bed bolts out, and this one is fighting me. It's just turning. Because I can't get to the top because it's blind, so I don't know. I'll figure that out. Probably have to cut it off, and now we can pop this bed off of here. Alright, well, now it's time to test the tensile strength of everything we forgot to disconnect. So, yeah, let's do that. So I think, since my significant other isn't home, that the absolute best place to put this is right here in front of the kitchen window. Yep, that should be a good thing. Yes, this tractor has simplified life for me tremendously. Back in the day, to get this thing off, I would have had to first get it running and driving, and then back it over a set of beams or something, and, you know, go through the whole lift it off, or, you know, use an engine hoist. And, well, that's not really an option with my shop floor. As you can see, it's just the last couple of months have just been raining, and it's a mess. The yard is just an absolute swamp. Every time I try to go anywhere, I'm getting stuck, or, you know, it's just, well, it's a train wreck sometimes. You can see all the tire tracks from where I've gotten stuck, and, you know, I had to drag myself out. So, well, number one, having a 4-wheel drive vehicle around here will be something. Even the tractor isn't 4-wheel drive. You know, you got to do some creative driving with the brakes and things sometimes, but, well, this rig would be pretty nice, is what I'm saying. And so now with the bed's off, yeah, ground wire there. Cab mounts are surprisingly intact. That's shocking. Now you can see the K5 body mounts, and here's where the shock would mount normally. I guess he was trying to get a little bit of height or less of a vertical arrangement on this. I'm not sure exactly, but whatever it is, it seems to work. Wiring appears to be okay. We got our feed line here. Oh, this does go up pretty good here. Well, I'm not sure I like that arrangement, but we'll see what we're doing here. I think everything actually looks really good. Even the brake lines might be salvageable. Of course, now that I say that, you know, now probably this time I ought to take the opportunity when I have this all apart to run extra wires back here for a trailer hitch when and if that time comes. Because this hitch, I don't think I can salvage this hitch. These usually, once they get welded together with time and rust like this, I mean, even the pin, it's just probably more trouble than it's worth. This tire has gone flat, so that's what the jack stand is for. That's fine. I expected it would go flat. When the time comes to test drive it, it should keep air long enough for us to maybe take a spin around the mud pit, test out the four-wheel drive, and get her stuck 16 times. Now you can see the tanks a little better. This is the air tank, I believe, if I remember correctly. And this he has set up as the vacuum tank, which, yes, that's looks correct, because this is, you can tell the vacuum can looks more like a tin can because obviously it sucks inward, so you won't see the same type of tank there. I'm surprised. It's very correct, actually. Used the correct tanks for the correct things. So maybe these came off a comparable truck. And this is the air tank. You can tell because it's bulged out to keep the pressure in. We'll be taking a look at that, because if I get this thing set up and running properly with the air compressor working, I'm going to put a airline, a quick connect fitting off of the tank system somewhere to run air tools and well, small air tools and air up the tires and things. You know, with an onboard air compressor, it's just really handy to have that. The frame looks quite good and salvageable. Body mounts and everything look good. Fuel tank looks in good shape. I'm gonna clean this up, pressure wash it and all that, and we'll check it. Don't pinch your wires there, people. Now, why are you doing that? See, that's what happens when you do that. We're gonna be changing that, fixing that ground. And the springs, well, that's not factory, I don't think. You got all thread through there to hold the spring packs together. Back there you got a bolt. Well, you know, springs are replaceable. The light harness to the back looks in really good shape. That's good. These drive shafts are so tiny. I can see this engine twisting them up like a pretzel. When the drive shafts are smaller than the exhaust, you know, it's probably a bad thing. But I think what saved the brake lines is they're up and away from everything, so junk didn't get caught in them the way he did it. Yeah, so overall we're looking good. I'm liking where this is going. I noticed earlier, and I had forgot, that this fuel tank has a drain on the bottom, so that will save us a great deal of effort. I don't have to pump out the old fuel, I can just drain it. I'll see how clean it is coming out before I pull this. And if it's really clean, I won't even bother pulling this and risk getting it dirty. If it's relatively just old but cleanish, then I'll probably just dump some new fuel and transmission fluid down and help to flush that out there. Fuel and brake lines look pretty good. The next step here is to address the fuel system, get that flushed, cleaned, whatever needs done, blow the lines out backwards, and see what's inside that canister fuel filter slash sediment separator there. I gotta say, for an old truck, this is one of the absolute best rear harnesses I have ever seen. They even used like just one butt splice connector instead of like 50 all lined up in a row. I mean, the wires are old, but I bet this thing would work. I bet it works right now, because I know the tail lights work. I mean, it's usually by the time I get them, they've been spliced 50 times and there's dead wires flopping everywhere and the colors are messed up and wrong. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of impressed with that. That harness probably still works. I should mention that stuff like this, where I just, you know, do activities in the front yard or the rear yard or whatever with reckless abandon for, you know, how it's going to destroy the yard. I bet these things just drive my significant other mad, but she has never said a word about any of this, even though she's got to look out the window and see the yard that looks like this. So, you know, I guess what I'm saying here, guys and gals, is find somebody who, when it's time to, you know, spur of the moment, take the bed off your pickup truck, doesn't mind when you just completely, absolutely destroy the lawn. You know, life's too short to worry about stuff like this. All right, so find your wife's brand new tote that she just bought from Walmart or something for $100, and make sure to use that for your used diesel fuel. Don't find an old ratty container. Make sure to use the brand new one, fellas. All right, let's see if this, well, we're gonna need some persuasion. Let's see what comes out first here. Will it be water? Will it be nothing, because it's completely clogged up. I think I need to get me a poking stick. Is this a 90-degree valve? No way to know without poking it. Let me find a poker. Now for this, you want to get your wife's finest coat hanger out of the closet, cut it and bend it into a poking device, and then throw it away, never to be seen again, so that you don't have it next time. Well, that's not water. That's good. It's definitely, oh, it's all varnish. Well, that's good, and getting the junk out of there, so. I'm really glad he brazed this valve on here. Make sure we get all of the junk out of there. Alright, let that drain for a bit, see what we have besides old diesel fuel. I wonder if this will even burn. Let's see how flammable this stuff is. Will it burn? I don't know. Let's find out. That is black. Well, let's see what happens. Well, there we go, but it won't sustain it. Yeah, it's burning. Just, I had to heat it up an awful lot. Alright, well, it's burnable. Guess I should move my camera back before I have to buy a new one, and the significant other says, "What kind of idiotic thing were you doing now?" Now, that gives me a little bit of hope that if I don't completely get this tank drained, if there's a cup or a baffle in there that still has a little bit of fuel in it, we just got to dilute it enough, I think. Well, let's see what we got in this here. If it'll even come out. Oh, no water in that. That's good. Drain that out. Oh, that valve still works too. Well, that's a good sign. Yeah, so that's the diesel fuel that was in it. I mean, there's the better part of a tank there. I don't know, when we actually fire it up and have power going to it, maybe we'll check the accuracy of that fuel gauge. I don't know. Anyhow, that can come out at a later date. What we're looking at right now is we're going to put a little diesel in here and try to re-bleed this with the hand primer so that I don't run my battery dead and, you know, burn up my starter. So I guess I'll put a little stuff in here and get the hand cranking. You know, I got to thinking, this is definitely old, but that could be off-road dyed diesel. I've never seen off-road dyed diesel like in a container like that before. Is that what it looks like? It definitely has a reddish tint to it. Maybe it's just dyed, I don't know, but it's definitely not clear or anything. So somewhere along the line, the #1 fuel injector line, the threads got messed up on the delivery valve and the line. I'm not sure if it was that way when I got it, because, well, I'm not sure. I may have done it, I'm not sure, but I'm usually real careful with those things. Anyway, either way, I have looked and looked, and I can't find one of these, just the #1 line, cheap enough, and I can't find a full set cheaper that's less than like $600 or something, which, and I have to order them from overseas. You'd think there'd be somebody who could make one for me, but I haven't found a place that can make them cheap enough. Well, I thought I'd found the right one, and you know, the length is right, because length is important on fuel injector lines. You can't just slap another injector line on it and have it be a different length than the other lines. I mean, you can, but you might have issues. Anyway, this is the right length. I would have to reshape it a little bit, and that's fine. I can do that. This fitting is correct. This one is not. This is an M14 fitting, and this is an M12, but I need one with two M12 fittings. Everything else is correct about it, other than, you know, the reshaping part. I guess my solution here is I'm going to, I don't know, I need to preserve the length, so I guess I'll cut off a section here and put a flare fitting splice in the middle. That's the only thing I can think of to do that's going to be cheap enough and not completely empty my wallet. And if it fails, I haven't lost anything other than time. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see if I can do that. I have to be real careful to preserve the length and the shape of this and everything. Where's the fitting I need here? Take this fitting off. And don't forget to put your fittings on, because if you crimp it and put them on the right way. So yeah, that should work. This is a very thick wall tube. I guess that's a good thing. Gotta clean these up. I'm testing it on this section first. I think this is thick enough. I can just use a file to run that edge down. Gotta find the right fitting size. Goodness, this is... I ain't kidding when I say this is sturdy tube. Alright, that should work. Okay, now we just gotta find the right size fittings. 1/4 inch is probably close to 8mm. Close enough for our purposes anyway. Must have a really close meetup, and I only took out a little bit the length of the cut, so actually I think that'll be about right. Okay, so now we just got to put flares on these. I don't know if I have an adapter that'll actually work with this because it's too small. I don't know if I can do a double flare. Well, maybe a single flare will work. I mean, what do these fire at? 150 psi or something? These don't have quite the, you know, 2000 psi or whatever of brake lines or anything, where you definitely need a double flare. Honestly, this tubing is so thick-walled. I think the single flare will be more than enough for the pressure that we're going to see here. I think that'll be fine. That's a very thick wall. Very, very, very. I think that'll do it. I'm glad I didn't try a double flare on this because it's so thick that I think a double flare would have just messed up and not done anything. I think we're about the same. Take it over and mock it up here. Let's see, that's the part that goes in the injection pump. That'll work. We have that tightened down. That will do the trick. I won't tighten this up till it's time to install it, and then we can get the exact alignment right, you know, when it's on the engine. So, I couldn't find an individual delivery valve holder anywhere online. Checked with a couple diesel places, but I don't think I think they don't want to take the time to just find one little part for me, which, you know, there's no money in that for them. They have to take the time to look up a 30-40-year-old part. So to a certain degree I can understand that, but at the same time it's also annoying when you're trying to just get one part and do it yourself. So I could find this for, I don't know, what was it, $100, which is probably what a delivery valve would have cost anyway, because for some reason these parts are exorbitantly expensive. So that was, I believe, the one remaining part I needed after I repaired our line. So I'm going to pull one of these delivery valves off here and measure it. I'm assuming one of these at least. Hopefully all the threads and everything are good. So, I don't know. Let's pull this apart and take a gander. Well, they are different. Well, shoot. And the thread size and everything is the same, but that is wide open. That does not have the same orifice at the top, for one thing. Oh boy. I guess I need to try to salvage this somehow. Tap and die kit, maybe? Maybe now that I have new threads here, maybe it will actually work. I don't know. Let me clean these up a little bit and see what we have. I don't know, there's some threads left. I don't know if it'll be enough to tighten it in though. I'm doing my best to clean these threads up. Well, I think I got this cleaned up. I mean, it's not great and it's not perfect. It should be enough to tighten it down. You know, it doesn't have to be cranked beyond recognition. It just has to seal that nice and tight. I think that'll do the trick. If you're not familiar with these, this fitting just locks down the flare into the groove on there. Yeah, so if my significant other asks you why I spent $100 plus shipping on this pump, well, just tell her it's because I needed it. The spring seats may be the same, but well, now I have my doubts. I don't know. I thought they were the same era pump and would have the same parts inside for ease of construction and maintenance, but why was I wrong on that? So this seems to have snugged down quite nicely, and I won't tighten this till we bleed the line properly, but I think that maybe that has a chance of working. And I did tighten down my flare joint there. So this entire fuel system is empty, and to hand prime it, well, you know, no one wants to do that. So I'm going to fill the filters and the lines with this pump, and hopefully the hand primer and cranking it over will do the rest. So I'm just gonna put this in line right, well, this way. I'm just gonna put this in line at the tank and prime the system, and I'm gonna disconnect this, and when I see fuel coming back out, that should mean it is primed. All right, there we go. There, we're getting some fuel out. Oh, it's working. Just let that run through. All right, we're pretty well bled there. I'm gonna run this for a bit and make sure. All right, so now I should have pressure on the manual primer. Oh, there we go. Yep. Definitely got pressure there. All right, I think we are ready to fire this engine up again and see what leaks on the stuff that we repaired here. All right, so there's nothing to stop us from firing this up and driving it other than that flat tire, which I will pump up. But let's make sure most of our leaks are resolved before we do that. So let's use the glow plugs. This is only the second cold start of this thing. Okay, that was about 15 seconds. All right, let's go over here and let's find out. pressure is good. Jack is jumping, forgot to oil that, that's fine. Well, the vibration's smoothed out. It vibrates a lot when it's cold there, but also the number one was still bleeding, so yeah. I'm sure the engine mounts, you know, sitting for 30 years, that didn't do him any favors. Okay, I feel the idle is set a bit high. That's fine. I think I can back that off. It's either this adjustment or the governor adjustment or both. I didn't cut this wire off, so this has probably been adjusted. So yeah, there's no top. Oh no, the bottom is the top pin, and that's still set, so that's fine. So I think I'll maybe back that one off a little bit. So I'm gonna see if I can oil the tack wire at some point, but I'd like to see if I can get it running and driving first, because now I accidentally got it hot and it's behind the exhaust. So yeah, we'll worry about that later. I don't feel like burning my hand just to have a completely accurate tachometer. Okay, let's pump up that tire, and I'll have to start it up and move my battery, and then we'll, because that's on the tire, and then we'll see if we can get it to move. Okay, I think there's very little stopping us from doing this other than common sense and a little bit of smarts. So let's violate all of those things and try to drive this. This thing has so much torque that starting out in 4th gear, it just, I didn't even touch the throttle. I can't touch the throttle, and it just eased right over here, starting off in 4th gear. Which is actually 3rd if you don't count low. So the way this shift pattern goes is low up here. This is a granny low. It's an SM465, in case you were wondering. So there's 1st gear. Don't even, well, touching the pedals doesn't do anything because it's not connected, but of course we don't have any brakes, but the steering seems to work. Oh, okay, we're gonna stop. Well, I mean, we're gonna stop. It's just a question of when. Okay, there's reverse. With my door. Clutch seems good and everything else, so haha. Okay, so that's good. Tachometer is still wildly all over the place. Oil pressure is still good. This guy must have been short to barely get in here. Anyway, there's no muffler on there, so it sounds a little rough, but yeah. Okay, it runs and moves under its own power. It's official. That is loud, way too loud. Let's see if we can adjust that idle down a little bit. Okay, so we got that pretty well cleaned up there. Obviously it still has no mufflers. That's fine. We don't need mufflers right now. Sometimes you can hear some dirt daubers and stuff hitting the fans and belts. Yeah, it's a little vibratory. Okay, so now I see a little bit of blow-by there. Now, part of me hopes that's just from sitting, but that's probably wishful thinking. It's an old diesel, and whether it has 100 hours on it or 10,000 hours on it, when it's been sitting for 30 years, well, yeah. So it's been sitting up at temperature for a bit now, just sitting here idling away. I don't like that blow-by, but it's not absolutely terrible, but it could be a lot better. Now, on the other hand, I don't have much to compare it to. It's not really putting out much smoke out the exhaust, so I don't know. Do these Isuzu, you can kind of, maybe you can kind of see the mist there underneath from the blow-by, but do these Isuzu diesels, how much blow-by do they have brand new? I mean, this engine was designed in the 60s, 70s, something like that, and was actually implemented in what, like 72 or something. So this design is very, very old. I mean, how much blow-by is acceptable? I don't know, but it seems to run okay. And it starts up really good when it has fuel now, so probably the compression is good. I don't know, maybe it's just the rings have been sitting for so long. I don't know. Run it through some drive cycles. Oil pressure is still, I've been sitting warmed up for a while. We're at say about 68 psi. I mean, anything around 60 or above with me is fine and idle for an engine like this, especially as old as I know it is. It is definitely a slow revving engine, but it's got lots of deep down torque, because like I was saying, I couldn't even control the throttle, and I didn't even have to touch the throttle to get this thing moving in 4th gear, which is pretty impressive. I don't think it has much horsepower, but it's got it where it counts, which is the torque. So I think this is acceptable for drivetrain performance at this stage in the build. I think it's at the point where I can probably take it from here. I don't have to dig into the engine further. Anything else I do is going to be cosmetic or, you know, just light tuning. It's, again, this is a tractor engine, but very vibratory. I don't like that part of it so much. I am going to look at those engine mounts, like I said, but other than that, I think she's ready to rock and roll. The drivetrain appears to be okay. I didn't hear any undue noises from the axles or anything when I was driving it. It'll be fine. But the back of that transmission is kind of vibrating too. Okay, it runs and drives. Next time, we're going to pull this cab. We're going to clean and de-rust as much as we can this frame. We're going to clean up the drivetrain, maybe even paint it. I don't know. We'll get fancy, maybe. Maybe we'll paint the frame, too. We're definitely going to do as much rust treatment and rust proofing as we can, because I really want to kind of do this right. The frame and the drivetrain seem to be in usable condition, and the frame is great. So we're going to try to keep it there as much as we can. It's running off the fuel tank now, so that's good. Like I said, that's pretty much all I'm going to do to the drivetrain right now. It runs and drives, and that's the important thing. Obviously, there's no brakes. You know, we're going to have to address that. I'll address any things I see. Probably replace all the rubber lines regardless, but probably won't replace the metal lines until we can have pressure on the system, and then I'll see, you know, what pops. Because, well, they're probably okay from what I've seen, most of them. So, I mean, they're good enough for me. I'm not going to replace them if they're not leaking. We're going to rip this cab off next. So, we're still going to be stripping down in the next episode. before we build it back up. So I appreciate all the interest in this project and all the motivation to help me keep going with this, because this is a ton of work. I have edited out a lot of the bits and bobs of this thing that aren't important and nobody cares about, and done my best to, you know, thin it down, and it's still an awful lot. So, but she runs and drives. So as always, I appreciate you watching, and please like, subscribe, keep this project moving forward, and get it in front of some other people, and help me keep motivated to keep this thing moving. So, oh, and please subscribe to my buddy Doug's channel over at Doug's Trucks and Stuff. I'm trying to motivate him to get into YouTube more and make some more instructional videos. He thinks he doesn't know what he's doing, but he really knows more than he thinks he does. So go on over there, help motivate him to keep him moving. He's rebuilding an engine right now or something. And he's got some square bodies and other projects too that he's working on, a flatbed square body and everything. So help keep him motivated too. And like I said, thanks for watching.